Imagine a world where the Great War, better known as the First World War, never happened. Instead of plunging into a senseless war, the European countries decided to form allies between each other, forming a world power strong enough to stand beside Russia and America in strength, but never really used it against either, as they would rather form allies with the surrounding countries. That was fine by the two other world powers, along with anyone else. It kept the peace, and that was so far what the common people cared about, these three world powers. However, this world couldn't avoid the next war. It didn't entirely start for the same reason, though. This war started because of the Church, an organisation that controlled most of Europe. Not in a cruel overlord manner. Many liked being part of the Church, but many failed to realise how strong of a grip the Church has around people, and that they made sure every man, woman and child shared their philosophy of the nature of demon. To believe that their form, their manifestation of their soul settles into, in their adolescence, reveals who they are for the rest of their life, and thus their role in this world has been set. People in Europe didn't mind the Church's teaching. It had been part of their lives for what seemed like forever. Also, the Church's teachings didn't harm anyone, and it did help a lot of people figure out their role in life by these teachings. In many ways, it helped people to know where they would be of best use for the world, just by looking at their demon's settled form. If a dog, then they would suit best as a servant or a soldier. A snake, the person would be best as a spy or cunning businessman. A cat, and this person was the best option as a designer or sociologist. A person with a bird, depending on the species, would either become a tracker or a person knowing exactly how to communicate with their voice. A child might not like, in the start, what their demon will settle into, but over time, they will accept that that's just how it is, and will come to appreciate whatever form their demon takes. However, not all people liked this teaching, this lack of control over their own lives, and would rather have their own belief in the nature of demon. The arguments among the countries were at first small, nothing worth worrying about, especially for two brothers in America. They have started their own war against one another over land their father left them after his death. The third brother was made to fight over this worthless land as well, but he left his land to his brothers, went to join the Church and aid them in making the fast-approaching war turn in their favour. His two brothers barely noticed his departure, too busy pitting their 9 mercenaries against one another. These two brothers never saw the start of this world's great war. They died as they lived, fighting against one another over completely worthless land. And because neither of them had any heir, all their land, all the riches of their father's company, went to the third brother, or rather to his daughter, who, like her father, was a powerful supporter of the Church and would make sure everything went to her family's favour, and made sure her own son would understand how to turn everything into their favour, like her own father taught her. Unlike the war you know, where Germany, Italy and the Japanese fought against several countries such as France, USA and Russia, and lost because they got themselves surrounded from each side. The lack of the First War, and the Church cleverly creating allies instead of forcing themselves into other countries. France joined them, and a big chunk of Russia as well, thanks to that world's equivalent of the Spartan people, the Tartarian powerful and brutal people. They knew little else but conquest. The Tartarian did not live by the same philosophy like the Church. But the world power made sure to stay on very good terms with these warrior people, promising them they will get Russia if they aided them in the war. The Tartarian agreed, and since they have already conquered most of the East already, the Church did not have to worry about getting attacked from that front, and could, almost calmly, turn their full attention on the United States of America, the final world power standing in their way of world domination. The Americans were strong enough to keep the war going for 7 long years. But in the end, the great power of the United States of America could not overpower the European world power, and lost the war. The Church was swift with their retribution for struggling against them. Any man of Congress, any general refusing to promise their loyalty to the Church would be executed. And those civilians that were set on staying as a true patriotic American would mysteriously disappear, never to be seen again. When certain that the USA was completely crippled, the Church allowed France and Denmark to claim America as their own, as thanks for the many supplies the two countries gave their soldiers during the war, but also to ensure they would stay loyal to the Church. The upper part of America's states became New France, and the middle became New Denmark. Thus, the USA was no more, and only a few books and stories about this once great world power would remain. Over the years, the fall of the USA would become the reminder of what would happen if a country went against the Church. Texas and Mexico weren't touched, as the people from there had been smart enough not causing too much trouble, and thus the benevolent Church left the only remnants of a once great power alone, however, did enforce their laws and beliefs onto these two countries. With the fall of the USA, and Russia too weak to fight, thanks to the Tartarian, the Church have free rein, spreading their belief onto the world, and how they believe is the best way of life, and no one can stop them. Well, almost no one. During the war, a resistance sprang up very suddenly. At first, it was small, and more of a nuisance than a threat, but quickly became a painful thorn in the side of the Church, and will continue being so for the next 100 years. No one knows how this resistance started, except from the 9 people that were the first resistance members. They were very good at their job, and that inspired a lot of people to take up arms against the Church as well. This resistance group spread like wildfire. The Church could not contain as more and more people joined their ranks and kept on messing up the Church's plans. So much so that the world power created an army fully made to fight this growing thorn bush. This army soon became known as the Magisterium, and they would do anything to stop this fire of the resistance members, or terrorists, as the Magisterium and most people would call them, since this growing army of common people has, ever since its creation, destroyed hundreds of buildings and killed countless numbers of soldiers. But for those who believed in a future where the Church did not have a say what they should believe in, have a say over their role in life, only one name suited this crazily brave resistance group, and along with the resistance itself, always will call them this name, to either the day they defeat the Church, or they will get eliminated, like so many before them. They are the brothers and sisters of Team Fortress.
We are the heroes of our time, but we're dancing with the demons in our minds.